Hi guys, Mike here from KS Bushcraft Down Under. For those that don't know, in my real life job I do home maintenance. So this here, 1975 I'd reckon, Diagnose Toilet in Australia. Now, some of the more modern toilets are more complicated than this, but they all basically work on the same system. So if you understand the parts, you'll be able to diagnose the problem. Now there are some pretty unscrupulous tradies out there that will charge you an awful lot for a very simple repair or upsell you something, okay? That's just life. So if you understand what the problem is, you can choose to fix it yourself or at least know what you're up for. Now most of the parts that fail on these toilets are less than $6 or $7. But first you want to know what's actually wrong. So this video I'm not going to actually repair something that doesn't need repairing, but I'll run you through how it works and how you can work out what you really need before you start. Okay guys, first and most obvious is the water supply. So this being of this vintage, this pipe here is a hard rigid pipe, okay? So unless you're going to remove the ball cock, there is no need to touch this. But if you're going to if you're going to work on the toilet and you're going to turn the water off, flush the toilet first before you touch this. You can't compress a liquid. So I've seen plenty of tap washers broken because someone's trying to turn them off under pressure. So unlike a normal tap, there is pressure stored in here to the inlet valve. So flush the toilet first before touching this. That way we'll know also that the water is actually disconnected. Okay, that's a biggie. Now if you've got a more modern toilet, it may have a braided flexible hose. Now, I recommend changing them out every 5 years. My niece's failed and it did nearly $40,000 worth of damage to the property. She was away on holiday when it let go. So remember that with those flexible hoses. They are very convenient for DIYers and plumbers as well, but change them, okay? So the water is obviously going to fill this tank. Probably the most common problem I get calls on is people get wet feet, okay? So if after flushing your toilet, your mats are wet, or there's water on the ground, it's probably the flush cone, which is this guy here. So they come in 40 and 50 millimeter diameters. Now this is an easy one to fit. That one takes a bit of doing. I've done a video on that which is very popular, showing you how to do it. So it's located. So I've just pulled the cover out of the way. There is the flush cone there, okay? That's white on white. Now this pipe here is empty until you flush. So if you're getting water on the floor, 99 times out of 100 it'll be this. Or if someone's been at it before, this is the seal which is inside the gland nut at the top. It's sitting there like that. If someone's over cranked it, this could have split. So, but the only time there is water in that pipe is when you flush. So that's probably a problem, okay? So then we'll move on to that annoying at night when you hear either the drip drip or the shh sound that never stops. Alright guys, second up on the common problems, if the toilet's continuing to make a dinge, it means it's leaking, okay? Ultimately, if the ball cock fails, this tank will overflow and it will flow into the pan that's as designed. And if the seating washer fails, it'll leak into the pan. So it's all designed to go, if anything fails, it goes into the pan. So what you can do, you can either put in like blue loo food colouring or put some tissue in here, and if it gets damp, it's leaking in there. So chances are it's this or the ball cock valve, okay? So pretty straightforward. These are about the three most common washers that I come in contact with, and they're a couple of dollars. Okay, so I'll pop the tank open and we'll get into the internal mechanism of it, and you'll understand basically how it works. Okay guys, there's the cover off. So ball cock valve. Now very few of them are balls these days. It's normally like a half a bucket. So if you're going to remove, before you remove this, mark this with a pen. I normally put an arrow and a W on it, because sometimes, depending on the design, it's hard to figure out which way it actually went on, but this one there's no other way for it to go. So in here there is a couple of rubber washers. So the water flows in from the bottom. Once this is depressed, as it comes back, it closes this valve. So this is the adjustment here for it. Okay. So the various designs, these actually aren't the right ones for this toilet, but usually it's this little black fella here that gets all the hard time. Now sometimes you can be repaired by just turning it upside down, otherwise it's a couple of bucks. So when you're pressing the toilet, it lifts this. Right guys, so this is where the button is attached to on the outside. So below this is the flush valve. So that's where the rubber washer is. It's located, if I can get in there. Okay, right in the bottom there, with it's got a couple of pins on it. Basically it's usually a push down and turn to the left would free that. So what happens here is you press down on the button, tube lifts, you let go of the button, weight of water pushes down and it will reseal. So as the level comes up, the ball valve here, you can see the water dribbling out of it, comes to a stop. So if there's the fault is here, the water level will increase to such a height that it will flow down the top of this tube here. So that's a dead giveaway. If there's no water if you get water in the pan and this height here is way too high, it's the ball cock valve. Okay, so there is a locking collar here. Okay, and two washers. Now don't forget, this is at full pressure. So before you get anywhere touching this, make sure the water is off and the system is neutralized. So in reality, it's a pretty simple thing. Now the ones with some of the dual flush ones, some of them are really fragile and they just fall to pieces when you touch them. So just be careful. But basically, it's a pretty simple system.